Welcome back to another episode of Diving Deep with me, David O.C., the podcast where we delve a little bit deeper behind the scenes and get to know some of the people who work within the Centurion Boats brand, find out what got them involved with water sports and what it is they exactly do on a day-to-day basis. And I'm very glad to say that today we are joined by wakeboarding pioneer and all-around legend, Dallas Friday. All right, so Dallas, welcome to Diving Deep. How are things with you?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Good. Thank you very much. I have to say, and just speaking before camera, it's pretty funny because I grew up and you were like the legend. You were on the Sean Murray wakeboard game, and now all of a sudden I'm just having a casual conversation with you.
That's funny.
It's crazy. So I guess the whole point in this podcast is to find out about the people behind the brand a little bit more, their stories, how they got involved in the sport, in whatever discipline that it is. So obviously it's no secret you're effectively one of the most dominant female wakeboarders there's ever been. You've been in the sport for probably the longest time of all females still around. So I guess, how did it start? How did you get into wakeboarding? Do you remember the first time you stepped foot on a wakeboard, or how did
You
it
make
all
me
go?
sound like I'm so old. Like I should be in the 90s. I'm okay. I'll take that. I got started in 99. I was 12 years old and I did gymnastics really competitively. And my dream was to be an Olympic gymnast. Of course, when you're in gymnastics, every gymnast is to be an Olympic gymnast. And I loved it. But as I got older, I really, I had two older brothers, very close in age. And I really struggled seeing them being able to do so many things, so many other things, try different sports. And for me, gymnastics, when you do gymnastics, it's your life, So it was my life from the moment I got out of school till right before I went to bed, basically. So they got me out on the water one weekend. And of course, being 12, I was kind of going through the boy crazy stage. So being out in the boat with my brothers and his friends, it was like a whole nother world. And honestly, when I got on the board, I think first try, I'm sure, I just loved it. And, I remember as a little girl, my parents took me out kneeboarding and things like that. And my mom would tell me, and I kind of remember just like zone out and sing my Sunday school songs. And just like in my own little world, not paying attention to anyone in the boat, just like singing my Sunday school songs. So I think when I started wakeboarding, it was kind of like that same childhood memory brought into date. And, it was something I wanted to do more. I wanted to learn. My brothers were trying to get me to edge out, grabbing the rope, swinging me out, try a tantrum, I could barely, I could ride, And
the gymnastics background to that is probably the reason you excelled.
Yeah, and I think just at that age, I was still at that age where you don't think, now that when you're older, especially being a girl, you think so hard about things when you don't understand them that it almost hurts you from being able to progress. And because I was a child, and just enjoying what I do, I think that's when progression really takes place. When you're having fun, enjoying what you do, and eager to learn. And, I think I got kicked out of gymnastics a few weeks later for cheating and conditioning. I know, right. And he's like, Friday, you're out. If you want to come back in 2 weeks, give me a call. And 2 weeks went by and I was like, I went wakeboarding a few times and I was like, I ain't going back. I was like, I want to do different things, and, I'm glad I did, but also I'm really glad that I did gymnastics. I mean, it's helped me, just the discipline and air awareness and just the strength and just, just being confident, in what you do. And, I kept on riding and I wanted to start actually learning. So my parents ended up asking Bill at Performance Cancer, do you know any coaches? And that's where I got hooked in with Ferraro. And it kind of just, went from there.
Yeah. So just before we get into when it took right off, because that's obviously...
Sorry, that was probably way more info.
No, that was awesome. But like you started with your family, it's the same for, I'd say, the vast majority of wakeboarders, like myself included. But do your brothers still wakeboard? Do you ever go out in the boat?
My brother was one of the first, like I want to say in the first five to like do 1080s. Like he was the one that did the 1080 off the kicker at OW when Julian,
No way. What was your
went
brother's name?
hit Robin Friday. He was a flat spinner. He only flat spin stickman style. I think it was
No.
a back tin. I can't remember exactly which type of tin it was, but the sequence shot was in Wakeboard magazine of him doing it.
Okay.
So like he was a really good junior rider.
Yeah. Or by all means, that's a good level.
Yeah, and he was a really good cable rider, but he did different type of tricks. Like he did like a lot of like front to fakies, elephants, front mobs, back mobs, like more of like cables type style riding.
Okay. See, it's someone to help progress with and to learn with and to kind of almost, I'm guessing, be a little bit competitive with.
Yeah, for sure. They definitely pushed me, was having me try stuff. I didn't really have business trying, but the scare factor or having fear didn't have a place.
It doesn't though when you're a kid. And I was actually talking to someone recently. When you're a child, the kind of the negative side of what could happen, it doesn't come into your brain. Like, whereas when you get a little bit older, even into your mid-teens, you start to think of consequences, but you don't think of them at a young age.
Yeah, I think there's some kids that do have some fear, but I really think it's who you were brought up, your parents and the people around you, if they instill like confidence in you and say, you can do it, I feel like I've always had that, and especially with gymnastics. So I felt like I could do anything. And I still kind of feel like that. I really don't have fear, unfortunately.
Really?
Yeah, like I'm always ready to go. Like if someone's like, you should try this, I'm totally down,
I love that.
There's a little factor of I am a little bit older and I'm going to feel it, but if I see it, I feel like I can do it. I go for it,
Okay, amazing. And so you got to that stage then where it really, let's say, where you met Ferrara and it just, as we said earlier, how was that? Like, you were at a young age. You were like 13 or 14, were you?
Yeah, I mean, it all happened so fast, it was kind of like this whole new world, and just especially becoming a teenager at that point. I just love sports. I just could not get enough of wakeboarding. I became a cable rat. I spend hours and hours at OWC a day, and then I go do a boat set and then back on the cable. And, I just loved what I did. Like, I was just eager to learn. I had the desire to learn. And as crazy as it sounds, like I envisioned being the best in the world. I envisioned so many different things, like, just winning events to becoming successful with sponsors. And I knew it was my calling, basically.
That's awesome. That's amazing. And so, first big event, what was have you ever Wikipedia'd yourself? It's hilarious.
No, I don't do it. I don't even like watching, like I probably won't watch this podcast after.
No,
I hate watching myself.
I was just like intrigued, like, is there any standout things or ever? So just before this, I Googled Dallas Friday. And the Wikipedia, it's just a list and list and list of competition wins. And I'm sure they're not even all the ones that are actually.
Someone told me a few years ago when you Googled my name, it would say Dallas Friday's boyfriend would pop up first and then husband would be next. I was like, what?
That's always the way. But so what was the first big event kind of, or let's say the one in your mind that was like the turning point, like, wow.
Yeah. Okay. My first year on the Pro Tours, it's a pretty cool story. I like going into the qualifying rounds. I would get butterflies, not so much nervous. I would just get excited, and I'd go out there and I'd overcook everything. Like I'd overdo it, edge too hard, just go too big, go out the front. And I just couldn't pull it together. It was like, I was excited, but not focused, and the last contest of that season was called the America's Cup. And it was down south in West Palm Beach at Lake Okehili. And it was a really cool event. They had different boat companies, all the boat companies, and the riders got to pick the boats that they rode behind. Wow. I ended up winning that event. Not only was it the first contest, I made it into the finals, but I ended up winning the pro women's division. And it was the last event of the year. And from that point, I think I won $7,000. I was like 13, $7,000. Like, what am I going to get? Candy, maybe a stereo for my room. I'm like, but from that point on, it like, once you get that confidence of knowing, okay, yeah, I can pull it together. That's like put me at a whole nother level. I knew there was no reason I couldn't go out there and not win.
Yeah. And then
And
what about
having fun?
exactly? But I can tell you said like you were just like addicted to the progress of it, and the desire was a good word that I like that you used. But so competitions are one thing, but obviously all the work behind the scenes that happens, the day to day learning tricks, taking crashes. Like, what was, if you were to pick one trick and you were like, that trick was a nightmare to learn, and when you do the one where you like land it and you're not even stoked, you're just like,
yeah. But see, I've always looked at, I'll stop you there for a second. Like, it's not work.
yeah,
It's fun. It's fun. And that's when you like, you really progress. It's when you're just having fun. When it's work, that's when it's kind of like you hit that, that wall, and it's kind of becomes a frustrating thing.
yeah.
I really don't let my wakeboarding ever get to that point. I kind of just take a step back. But, yeah. As far as a trick that I hit, switch Rayleighs, still have never learned it. Tried them on the cable, nose front edge, nose front edge, nose front edge. Still don't understand it. Don't want to try it. Makes me mad I haven't done it yet. But then for like the boat, really, I don't know.
Everything's just come relatively.
I mean, whirlies have always been a weird thing for me because I've injured myself doing it. Yeah. I don't really do them nowadays. It's not that I'm scared of them. It's more so I had so many different types of whirly birds that I would do. And it's one of those things I would just take.
Two hands on.
Yeah, two-handed whirly. Sometimes I would do my tantrum where I'd square off at the wake. Sometimes I wouldn't. I'd go out the back. Yeah. And I just really never knew what I was going to do when I hit the wake. There was never like a set key points to focus on. And that fall, yeah, it does kind of hurt. You can get hung up. And if you've seen some like the photos of me mid-whirly bird, it's like half my body's literally this way, and then the other half is the opposite way. You're like, how? That's not
scientists normal. Are like studying it. Like, how is this even physically possible? And so you've obviously put in a tremendous amount of work on the water, but I even saw in your We Wake Waves, like you're in the gym, and is there a lot? Did you always train outside of the water, and is that a more recent thing? And how important do you think that plays?
I mean, as crazy as it sounds, like I got into boxing recently. Like I love it, and just like wakeboarding, same exact thing. Like eager to learn, love it. Yeah, it might be like really hard workout, but it's just a lot of fun. Yeah. But I want to be the next $1 million baby now. Kind of crazy, 34. But yeah, I've always been active in my lifestyle, just from everything. Like anytime I'm trying something new, like we just started golfing recently, and I'm like, could I be a professional?
That is so Florida of you to start golfing.
Yeah, I know. And then my boyfriend's like, Dallas, golfing is probably the hardest thing to be professional at. Everyone wants to be a professional golfer. Everyone's good at golfing, but to actually be like in the top pros is pretty much impossible. And
that's if anyone does, nothing is impossible.
That's exactly what I said. I'm like, all right. But I mean, it's fun, but it's not something I would be that passionate about to keep pursuing. But I love doing it.
And that's a good thing. You seem to find a lot of enjoyment in just like learning around sports and things like that, which I think is probably your secret sauce as such.
Yeah, I guess that would be. For sure.
Okay, now to interrupt it. So we do one like kind of little, like, I don't know if the word's game, but at this point we're going to play a game of Would You Rather, but this isn't the type of Would You Rather that happens at like a Friday.
I like it. Let's do it.
This is just chill. So I feel like I can probably predict a lot of your answers, but I'm just going to quick fire around. Would you prefer to be too hot or too cold?
Would I prefer to be too hot or too hot? Too hot.
Okay. Would you prefer to go deep diving, like deep sea diving, or skydiving?
Oh, deep sea diving.
Okay. Contests, go big or go home?
Sometimes it's best to go home. I'm just kidding. Go big.
Your lesson. I want to get onto that in a minute. Okay. What about, okay, you're going on a vacation, luxury hotel or nice campfire with tents by the lake, let's say?
If the campfire is like an Airbnb and not a tent, yeah,
Okay,
campfire.
a bit
Yeah.
of luxury.
Yeah, but not like a hotel, the standard. I like
I'm sure you've stayed in your fair share of hotels within your life.
I have. I have.
Okay, so would you prefer to be a kid forever or an adult forever?
Ooh, that's a tough question.
There's pros and cons to both.
I'd probably say an adult because it's to see where you've come from and how you've grown, I think is something that you can really endure. And but then being a kid, you have no worries. That's really tough.
It's admirable because I think most people would have probably said kid because they just run away from their problems.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, I'd like to think that it's nice seeing where you've been and where you've come from.
Yeah,
And I think you can find almost be proud of yourself in that way and push for more, you know.
absolutely. Absolutely. Would you prefer to have a cook or a maid to help you around the
A
house?
maid,
Maid. You
definitely.
hesitate.
100%.
Would you prefer, I know the answer to this, to be too busy or to be bored?
Oh, would I prefer to be too busy or bored? Too busy.
Yeah, I was thinking that
Yeah.
seems. And last but not least, would you prefer to be 4'4" or like 7'2" in your height?
4'4" for sure.
Better for wakeboarding.
Yeah. I mean, plane rides, all kinds of things.
Yeah, except you probably can't go to Disney World.
I'm okay. I'm totally okay with that.
Yeah, okay, yeah. For anyone who has never met a professional wakeboarder, the average height is like 5.5 feet across men and female. Everyone's just tiny. It's quite funny.
Yeah. My brother was actually 6'2".
Really? Huh?
Yep. And he killed it. He had more of a stick man, Greg McCrassen style, but yeah.
Okay. Awesome. That's mad. Very rare. Very, very few and far between. I once met this guy at OWC and he was claiming that he was the world's tallest wakeboarder. But I don't, he was maybe like 6'8", but I was like, there's definitely been taller. Like he was good though. He had some good
6'8". That's pretty tall.
That's my guesstimate there. But okay, so one of the things we spoke about there, and obviously you've had like so many injuries and you just seem to always come back. And like I remember there was one particular one that probably was like not be a fond memory, but I think you were in China for a long time and
Singapore.
Singapore,
Yeah.
sorry. So what is it that makes you just continue to come back? And I know you love it, but there has to be a point where you're like, is this even worth it?
Honestly, those types of things, like people ask me about it, and it never even crosses my mind. Like, am I going to come back? I already know, before even they started a surgery on my leg broken in 9 places, I'm going to wakeboard again. I can tell you that's a fact.
Yeah, it's not a question of
how it's going to work out. I don't know, but I'm going to go for it no matter what. I think it's just how you look at life and what you're willing to do for what you want. Like, are you willing to work for something? If you desire something that much, I'll do whatever it takes at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I think just really just knowing and having faith in that just is really what's always pushed me.
Yeah. And do you think you enjoyed the little bit of having those kind of setbacks and having is that something that kind of almost maybe gives you extra motivation?
I mean, those walls you hit and those downtimes, that's what builds your character. And that's what makes you, as bad as it seems and as tough as it is. And, you feel like everyone's against you and the odds are against you. It's where you really dig deep and you come out a better person because of it. And I can appreciate all those tough times and they've made me who I am today.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is a lot of work, but like I said, it helps you grow.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And on a more, let's say, positive note, so one of the things for me, I'm an Irishman, grew up in Ireland, and I want to go to, actually quickly before, I don't know if you remember this random story. I was like maybe 16, I was in Florida, And
I,
the reason you'll remember is you'll remember my.
I remember your mom. Yeah.
So
Had that crazy, like she just had knee surgery or something, and I've never seen someone on the thing that rolls around and their leg just sits on it.
Yeah,
I remember.
I remember that being quite a surreal moment of playing around your trampoline, and basically I had a friend who lived across the street. But yeah, I remember like, this is so crazy. But it was because I grew up with, I can't remember if it was an Xbox or a PlayStation, but we had the game, the Sean Murray Unleashed. And you like, what was it like becoming part of like that? I know there's fame and then there's like next level
it all, honestly, all that extra outside the industry stuff all just came so fast, and it was kind of like never really settled in because I was so on the go. And to think back at it now, it's kind of like if that were to happen now, I'd be like, whoa, but that's just the way it was back then. Wakeboarding was really taking off and growing, and I was fortunate enough to be a part of that. It was a great time to get into the sport. It's funny because thinking about you, when I met you and saw you ride for the first time, I remember you inspired me. I'm like, what's that wrapped handcuffed? And I've never seen that before. So like, I remember like for days I was like coming in like that. I practiced on the trampoline, like being handcuffed, doing like toe back dives and stuff. So.
That's so funny. If 16-year-old Dave knew that at the time, he would have been lying up like, oh my God, this is crazy.
Yeah, you left and I was like, dang, that Irish kid's pretty good.
That's so funny. And so obviously you're still riding, and I say all these years later, but I think a big part of it is you started so young. It all happened so young. It's not like it all blew up when you were 20. But so these days when you go out and riding, and I've seen that you bring your family out on the water and stuff, has the dynamic of what wakeboarding is, has it changed for you?
Oh, well, I mean, the sport's gone through so much. It's changed dramatically in a lot of good ways. There's so many different aspects that's changed, from the riding style to the more technical side of equipment and what's possible, to what's important as far as media and sponsors. That's changed dramatically. And with social media now, I mean, of course that changes every community or, but I think it's changed for the good. I don't think it's as competitive as it was. Contests aren't, the main piece or the main sauce to what makes an athlete successful. There's so many other ways that we can be successful in our sport and not have to be a world champion, which is very cool.
And do you get your kids into, are they into it?
Yeah, they are super into it.
And do they know do they know you're Dallas Friday, or do they just think your mom and she can be good on
Georgia, I have two, Sean and Georgia, 3 and 5. But, when they first started coming in the boat, they were so small. And I'd ask people, I'm like, what do they do when I'm riding? And they say that, like, they would be zoned in on me, like, so focused on what I was doing, like, which I think is pretty cool. And then now it's like, mommy, 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 and, yeah, they love it. They love being out on the boat. I think they really love interacting. And, I think that's why everyone loves the sport. You get to be around your friends, interact, and have fun. So.
Yeah, that's incredible. And do you think we've got some potential wakeboarders there in the future, or are you just happy for them?
Oh, definitely. But I only did gymnastics and then wakeboarding. I want my kids to try everything. And I mean everything. I don't want to just put them in one thing. I want to give them every opportunity to find out what they like and are passionate about, whether that's wakeboarding, golf, gymnastics, whatever it may be. And I only think that that's going to add value into, what they do become, having different, areas. And yeah.
Let's say going forward now in the next few years, what's like Dallas Friday's plan, or do you have a plan? Do you take it day by day? What's your kind of outlook in that respect?
Like, after having kids, you kind of question a lot. And, it was really when I signed with Centurion that I was assured that I can keep continuing doing what I love, because you think if without my boat, I can't do what I love. Like, how am I going to continue that? But I kept doing what I loved. And, I got caught up with Paul Singer, got in touch with me, and we had an amazing conversation, and asked me if we want to work together, and here I am today, now with a boat, continuing doing what I love and taking my kids out on the boat. And what's next for me? I think first I put my kids first, definitely. Being a professional athlete, you really learn how selfish you really are.
Particularly
and now that I have kids, I see that selfishness I had, because everything's me, all about me when you're a professional athlete. I'm sure it's in every sport. But now with kids, they come first. They're the first thing in my life, and everything that I do is for them. And I just want to show them to go after what you're passionate about, hard work, and do what you love and make the right choices. And hopefully continue to be involved in the community of the wakeboarding world, and help push the sport in a positive direction. And yeah.
Amazing. Well, you've definitely inspired. Even so, like, it's funny, you're probably so used to being in Florida and hearing about maybe women and girls who've helped there, but like even in Ireland, there's so many who, when we were growing up, you probably didn't even know wakeboarding existed here. And there's so many girls and guys, including myself, who just fully looked up to you. So
that's awesome.
Hats off to you on your amazing career, and it's obviously still got a good way along to go, and on a life with the kids and everything as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, Dallas, I feel like there's no better time to end it on that high, but thank you so much for joining us and for your insight and everything like that.
Yeah, no worries, it was fun.
So there you go, Dallas Friday, an absolute legend of the sport and an all-around great lady, a fantastic mum, and is still so passionate about wakeboarding even after all these years and after all the different obstacles she's had to overcome within her career. Now, if you did enjoy the podcast, please make sure to subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, or follow us on whatever platform it is that you are listening to us on. And of course, leave us a little comment and let us know who you would like to hear us dive a little bit deeper with in the next episode. But for now, thank you so much for listening and for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.